Hey, welcome everyone to the Miracle Mindset Masterclass. This is a really exciting masterclass for me because this is basically taking you behind the curtain of how my mind works and the way that my perspective of the world and how I approach things and how that's changed over time. And I found that with this perspective that comes from a spiritual place from thousands and thousands of years ago, some ancient wisdom that I uncovered once I made the change in my mindset to adapt to this way of thinking. So many miracles started occurring in my life. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my story soon. But I feel like this is going to be such a gift to so many people because it's been such a gift in my life. So, my intention for tonight is to help 1,000 women, or not tonight, but in general with this masterclass, to help 1,000 women to up-level their mindset so that they can experience freedom and happiness and miracles that they didn't think that they had access to before. And so I hope that tonight, my intention is that watching this masterclass is a life-changing moment in your life that makes you see things in a totally new, different way. It's a perspective shift, something that's needed. And the fact that you're here tonight means that, you've probably been looking for something and you know that there's something else that, once you experience that, then it's going to unlock the new levels of yourself and what's possible for you. And so to start with, what I would love you to do is set an intention for what you would like to receive out of this evening. I've shared my intention with you, but everyone's at a different point in life right now and seeking different things. And knowing that this masterclass tonight is around mindset, I'd like you to think of an intention, and if you're here live, share it in the chat, and I would love to read through those as we go. So tonight I want to share with you 3 of the spiritual principles that can manifest more miracles in your life. And at the end, I want to also share with you something practical, something that is the only choice really that every single day, if we're to do that, it actually connects us with that realm of miracles. So we're going to start with the 3 spiritual principles, and these are kind of more like overarching principles, ways to view and perceive your life. And whether you want to take it or not, this is all an experiment. And at the very end of this call, I want to share with you something practical that you can take away as well. So we have some intentions coming through to listen and learn what I need for my highest good. I love that. My intention is to feel into the message that is being delivered. Amazing. Yes. Intention is actually a really powerful part of what I've been diving into, because there's a difference. Even if you're doing something that is a really great thing, like you're being of service, say you're giving to charity, that could actually be coming from a negative place if you're doing that, for example, for gratification of your ego. If you're doing it for, look, I just donated to this thing. So the intention that we set before we do something actually either plants a seed of miracles for the future, or can plant a seed of some kind of negativity playing out in the future, and we don't know when that will be. And so even though you're doing something great, which is giving to charity, we always need to be checking in with our intention, which is why even at the start of this masterclass, this is what I wanted to focus on first. So let us dive in to our first spiritual principle. After my story, because I forgot that part. Okay, so my story is that if I rewind, before I kind of had a more empowered mindset, I guess, I was just going through the humdrum of daily life and what I thought that I should be doing, and kind of like the steps to success that are set out there by society. And so this is a photo of me the day that I graduated from uni, and I felt so excited to just do the things that I thought society wanted me to do. So I was going to go out there and get a job. And I got a job that was really sought after, a job that paid really well, a job that was like corporate in Sydney. And I felt like, oh, I've made it. All I need to do now is like move up the corporate ladder. And it was interesting that only 9 weeks into that job, I ended up feeling so sick, so unwell. I couldn't even move my body. I was stuck in bed for an entire week. And that made me reevaluate everything. And as we go through the class tonight, I want you to pay attention to how the moments that seemingly seem the worst actually turn out to be our greatest blessings, our greatest miracles. And so this sent me on the journey of self-discovery. To an extent, at this point, I had an identity within myself. I identified as a student. And so I was like, well, if it's not the corporate role, I'll go back to being a student. And so I started my PhD at uni. My topic was work-life balance. And part of the reason for that was when I was in corporate, something that I noticed was the people who were being really efficient and getting their work done and like leaving by 5 p.m., people viewed them as lazy. And the people who stayed at work until 6, 7 at night were seen as the really productive ones, even though they may have gotten less done or been on Facebook for half the day, or, not really been focused on their work. And I just felt like this didn't make sense. Our paradigm of work just didn't make sense. And so I was like, well, I could change that in some way through my research. And so this is where I started researching that. And at the same time, I was searching, like, what are my passions? What is it that I'm really interested in? And one of those things was wellness. So alongside my studies, I also started doing some speaking engagements, speaking to students about wellness and thriving, even while they're at uni, being able to study and take care of their health, work smarter, not harder, prioritize their wellness. And so I kind of had these two things running at once, and I didn't have that certainty of what I wanted for my future anymore, because it kind of got thrown out the window. And so I didn't have the confidence to truly go for my passions, and I didn't feel like I could make money from that. And so I was like, I'll go the safe path, which is like studying and then getting a good job. And that was my mentality. Then my world gets turned upside down because I'm going through some mental health problems at the time. There was some medical issues happening in my family as well. So I was supporting my family through those. I had a breakdown in my relationship with my brother. And then as I'm going through all of this, my support system at that time was my boyfriend, who I was living with in an apartment by the sea. And one day when I came back after a therapy session that I'd been to, the words that he said to me were, "I don't love you anymore." And already I was having a pretty bad day. And then to come home to hear that, that then shifted my world upside down. It meant that I had to leave the apartment, and I quit my job, and I quit I paused the PhD. I moved back to Wagga Wagga to live with my parents, and I just felt like my whole world in one moment had just fallen apart. As I was living at home, a few months into me living at home with my parents, they also separated and later divorced. And so it just felt like so many things in my reality were just crumbling all at once. And over this time was when I was introduced to doTERRA essential oils, and I was really into wellness, and so it kind of matched with my values of health and holistically looking after yourself. And so I was like, well, this is my opportunity to just dive fully into that, because at least it's something that I know that I'm passionate about. And my goal for that was to replace the income that I was receiving through doing my PhD, because I had a scholarship for that, which was about $26,000 a year. And in my doTERRA business, I achieved that within the first 6 months, which is, by most accounts, a difficult thing to do. So I was pretty happy to get to where I got to so quickly. And I felt like things were more in alignment now. And I felt like I was experiencing so much more freedom and fulfillment. And I think a big part of that was the fact that I was actually following more of my path. So since the breakup, then I was just focusing on myself. I was so happy to not be in a relationship. I wanted to work on myself to the point that when I did call that person in, that they would match the work that I'd done for myself. And the problem with this, though, was, as well-intentioned as I was, I also wasn't open to letting love in until I was perfect. Because I was like, I want the perfect partner. And so I'm only going to allow that in when I'm perfect, because that's when I'm going to attract it. And so this meant that I was not open to anyone. Nobody was an option. And one of my friends reflected this to me. And from that conversation, it opened me up to be like, okay, well, maybe I could do this. And the solution that I thought that would work for me was a fly in, fly out workup, because I was like, well, then I've got 2 weeks to just focus on me and my personal development, my business, all the things I'm passionate about, and then 2 weeks to kind of be with them, but I won't get lost in the relationship, because that's a pattern that had played out in the past. And I'm like, this is a solution. And then it was in August of 2019 that I caught myself in my mentality of how I was limiting the possibilities of the love that I could experience. And I decided to not censor myself and write down, what is everything, if I could have the absolute greatest desire within my heart, what would that be? What would that look like in love? And I wrote that down. And I think the biggest part of what I wrote was that I wanted someone who wanted to grow together and support each other to be the highest version, the highest expression that we possibly can, to serve the world in the greatest way. So that was probably the main thing. And it's interesting that I wrote this August 2019, and it was September 2019. It was actually only 11 days later that Ben walked into my life. Now, when I say walked into my life, this was very much to do with human design. So I just found out about human design, and one of the things that human design spoke about was the fact that I was supposed to follow my spleen. And my spleen means that I have this instinct in the moment and I know what the right step is for me to take. And so I had to experiment with that. Basically, I wanted to experiment to see if that was really true, because I'd never really heard that much about human design before, and I didn't know if it was going to be true for me. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to experiment. And so that meant saying yes to anything that instinctually like felt like that yes, and saying no to anything that my instincts told me no to. And I had planned to go on a trip to the USA, and then my friend, she asked me whether I wanted to go on a retreat with her, and automatically my instinct said yes. And so I asked her the dates, and it turns out they were the same dates as my America trip. And I was like, well, if I'm really committing to this human design experiment, it means letting go of the plan that I had in my head and listening to that innate message within my body. It's trying to tell me something that my mind cannot fathom. And so this is the wonder of human design. And this is one of the things that I've gone down the rabbit hole probably the most out of any of the modalities, because it is so powerful as a guidance system to help us align to our true path. And it led me to getting on the plane and going to Magnetic Island. And I arrived a few days before the retreat started, and the person who picked me up from the airport was Ben. And that day was his birthday. It was also my birthday, and that was the day that we met. It's now the day that we celebrate our anniversary. And I feel like it took me spending those 2 years just focusing on myself and being so happy with just being alone. I feel like there's something to say for self-discovery and knowing that you're supported no matter what. You don't need somebody else to feel like you are enough. You don't need somebody else to feel like you have a roof over your head. You don't need somebody else. It's all going to be provided for you by not just you, but also the universe. Or you can interchange that word. Sometimes I will interchange it myself. I might use universe, I might use source, I might use God, I might use the creator, I might use higher self. They're all one and the same in the way that I'm speaking about it in this masterclass. So I spent that time working on myself, and I felt like I found the person who matched that, and it attracted that towards me. So now I'm fully down the rabbit hole of human design, and I was so passionate about it. I started creating human design basics courses. I started doing human design readings and started presenting about human design. And what I noticed was with human design, you basically get a roadmap of how you work on that soul level, and the map to align with the true path that you're here to be on. And I would give people this map, and then I would still notice that they weren't living their purpose. They weren't happy. They weren't fulfilled. They didn't have freedom. They weren't making any changes in their life. And what I reflected upon was that, yes, you can have the map, but even when you have the map, you still have underlying conditioning. You have limiting beliefs. You have past experiences up until now that create the reality that you're perceiving the world through. There's long-held fears that you have that are hidden below the surface. And perhaps there's also an underdeveloped ego. And I want you to take note of that, because I'm going to speak into that soon. So that's what has led me to creating this masterclass, because there's a shift that I had to make in my own life when it came to my mindset to be able to grow in the way that I approach my life, and to be able to see all obstacles that come into my life as opportunities, and to actually get excited about the the most horrible moments that may occur in my life. So there may be limiting beliefs that are going around in your head currently. It might be that, you know, you're looking for a home right now and you're scared that you won't find the right place for you. It might be that you feel like you're not enough. It might be that you don't want to be seen. It might be you don't want to be judged or rejected or abandoned, or that you're not of value, or that who's going to listen to you, or it's possible for other people but it's not possible for me. So these all of these fears can be addressed through these spiritual principles that I'm about to share with you. And what I want for the women who watch this masterclass is that they can then live that life of freedom and fulfillment and be free of these kind of limiting beliefs or anything that's holding them back from their true potential. Because ultimately, if you're out there being of service and living your purpose and stepping into your true potential, that is going to be such a positive benefit in your life and the people in your close vicinity, but also so many other people in the world. And so it's really it's your mission to do that. Like, it's a must. Like, you must work on yourself. You must discover yourself, because only once you do that will you be able to serve on the highest level. And so here we are. So principle number one, we're there now. Okay, principle number one is the principle of pause, what a pleasure. Pause, what a pleasure. And so that means anytime there's an obstacle that arises, instead of automatically going, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why is this showing up? This is so annoying. This is frustrating. I wish this wasn't happening. Instead, being able to get to the place where as soon as that obstacle arises, you pause. And the point of the pause is to move from our reactive behavior to a state of responding and being proactive. Because if we are making decisions from that reactive state, this is us being at effect. And if we're at effect, we are the victim. And if we're the victim, we have no control. And if we have no control, we're not being at cause. And so if we're not being at cause, that means that we don't have the ability to move past what this obstacle is in a way that it won't repeat again. Because if we don't get the lesson from it, then it's just going to come back around again, because that's the reason that that obstacle is there for you. Because it wants to show you something that is going to reveal your next level. And of course, whatever that obstacle is going to be something that's hard for you and something that you don't want to look at. It's by design. The obstacles that appear in your life are going to be different to the person next to you. And that's by design, because you need the specific obstacles that show up in the way that they do to unlock that highest version of you. So the obstacles are showing you the way to your highest self. They're showing you how to transmute your behaviors from that reactive state to the responsive state, so that then you can be in that realm of miracles. The miracles happen when we're in the space of being at cause, when we're in the proactive, when we're in the responsive state. When we're in the reactive state, we cause more problems. We make things worse for ourselves. It's a negative spiral. We spiral down. And sometimes sometimes when we react, say you're having an argument with someone and they've done something to wrong you, and you tell them what's what. You raise your voice and you say, that is not okay. In that moment, you get a spark of instant gratification. It actually feels a little bit good to share that anger. But ultimately, we live in this world of short-term gratification. We need to overcome the need for short-term gratification to instead prioritize our highest purpose, to instead prioritize what we're truly here to do, which is way more important than this little situation that's playing out. And something that I like to do when these situations are playing out is it's kind of like I zoom up, like out of my body, out, up into the sky, above the entire town, above the state, and then I look down at like the globe as a whole. And then I look at how small that problem is that I'm experiencing right then in that moment. And that helps me with the pause, and it helps me not to react, because I see how insignificant in the scheme of the entire world, this thing that feels so big to me right now, it isn't actually as big as I'm making it seem. The pause also allows time for us to feel our emotions, because it's not about automatically being able to learn the lesson. The lesson comes from the emotion. Now, this is something super important. To get past a really big, like not just an obstacle in day-to-day life, but something really big that's happened in your life. It might be a death of someone in your family. It might be a betrayal. It might be divorce. It might be you lost your job, like those big things in life. The lesson that's being taught in that moment is going to come out of the emotions and not from the event. So let's give the example of, your father passes away. Your father passes away and you feel so lost, so confused. How could this happen? Why would this happen? This doesn't make sense. And these emotions are arising within you. If you keep thinking about the event that has occurred, you will most likely never receive those answers, and you will never be able to heal. If we focus on the emotions that have arisen as part of that process instead, and we feel those emotions rather than being evasive or pushing them away or focusing on work or busying ourselves or doing other things, we feel those emotions and we do the inner work to understand, what is this trying to teach me? That is when we're able to actually move past something that can be so massive in our life. Now, one moment, I'm just going to get my charger. Okay, cool. All right, so let's move to spiritual principle. Actually, let's talk about the pleasure part. Okay, so we've paused, and then it's focusing on that what's occurred is actually really good. Why is it good? Because whatever's happened is actually for your highest good. And so as soon as an obstacle arises, you know that there's a miracle that's about to be received into your life, which helps you to understand how this terrible thing that's happening, this terrible reality that's in front of you at that moment in time, the pain you're experiencing, the suffering that you're going through, it's like, wow, I'm ready for my next level. This is really good. I'm being gifted this right now because it's a test. It's a test to see if I'm ready for that next level and if I can pause and if I can feel the emotions and if I can see that there is actually a lesson in this that's going to elevate me to my next level. That is when we're able to find the solutions, get the results, access the miracle of that situation. Principle number 2. So this is speaking into our limiting beliefs and overcoming limiting beliefs. And the way that we do that is by choosing certainty. And so the doubts or the limiting beliefs that we might have, it is one of the biggest killers of us being able to tap into the realm of miracles. When we're focusing on the limitations, this is when we cannot access the realm of miracles. So let's say that you are really passionate, you're really passionate about breathwork or Reiki or meditation or something like that. And you're like, I'm going to start posting about it on social media so people know that this is something that I'm doing moving forward. So, but you stop yourself because you're scared of being seen. You're scared of what people might think. You're scared of getting rejected. And so you're like, oh, maybe I'll just not share that. Okay, so let's say this situation is playing out. Let's imagine instead that what you're about to post on social media is that somebody has given you 10 $1,000 vouchers to go on a holiday to Fiji. And you get to give it away to 10 friends. And you get to post that on your social media and give it away to people. Would you feel scared to post on social media if that was what you were sharing about? And so the reason for that is that when you're posting about giving away the holidays, you're in the spirit of giving. You're totally focused on what you're giving to others. Whereas when you're in the doubt or the limiting belief, that's when we're more focused on ourselves. How is this going to be perceived? What are people going to think about me? As opposed to how is this going to help other people? Because ultimately that's what you want to do. It's just that these limiting beliefs have got in the way. And so this is how we can help ourselves to move past the doubt and get closer to the miracles. And the miracles are going to occur on the other side of those doubts. And an even easier way to move past them is to focus on certainty. Certainty underpins the physical work that we do out in the world. So there's kind of 2 realms. There's the physical work we do in the world, and there's the spiritual work that we do in the world. The spiritual work we do in the world is the inner work, the work that we do in ourselves. It's the self-discovery, the self-love, learning who we are, so that ultimately we can know ourselves well so that we can go and serve the world. Now, the way that we serve the world is through our physical work. That's what we do day to day, the hard work that we're doing out in the world. Now, certainty is what underpins that. When we're connected with certainty at all times, it means that we can get past any obstacle. We can't lose. There's no losing when you're focusing on certainty. Now, if we're using an example so that you can connect more to what certainty means, what about you're having trouble in your relationship and all you want is to feel really connected to your partner again. That's the outcome that you're wanting. So you're like, oh, sweet, I'm going to inject certainty into this. That's the way to unlock the miracle. So I'm going to be certain that we're going to be connected. So this is putting our certainty in the wrong area. That's not the kind of certainty we're talking about. That kind of certainty is more of an attachment to a specific outcome that we've decided in our head is going to be the one that makes us happy. If we look outside of that, really, our ultimate desire is for us to keep evolving to the highest version and highest evolution of ourselves. And so our certainty should be placed in that no matter what, whatever happens is going to be for my highest good. It's going to be the lesson that I need to learn. It's going to be what's needed in this situation. And it may mean that your preference is not what you're served on the plate, but that's great. That's good. We go back to principle 1. It's like, pause, what a pleasure. It's like, this hasn't turned out the way that I thought that it was going to turn out, but I'm certain, I have certainty that this is the exact way that it was meant to play out, because that's the reason why it is playing out. The pain that we experience is in the present moment, but the past is always perfect. And so if something has just happened to you that seems terrible, it's now in the past. And the past is always perfect, which means that whatever that thing is that just happened for your highest good, which means that it's good. And so you can be certain that this has been put on your path for a reason. So you can never lose when you know that no matter what the outcome is, it's always going to be for your highest good. And so place your certainty in that. So that's principle number 2. Now, the third principle for this evening is about making your ego your best friend. So like what I was talking about in principle 2 and principle 1, obstacles are really that opportunity to call in your miracles. Now, often the obstacles that are created for us are created from our own mind, and the tricks that our mind is playing on us comes from our ego. So if you're feeling like somebody has done something wrong by you, or something's not working out, or this is really frustrating that this just happened to me, that is an obstacle that your ego has created for you, because it's actually going to help you. So if we look at, let's look at the concept of ego, the way that generally in society people think of ego. So people think of ego as, you know, oh, that person has a big ego, as in they're really, what's the word, like arrogant and, you know, not necessarily a very nice person. They just think too much of themselves. So we usually think about ego as something like that. So that would be someone with a big ego. And then we think of someone with a small ego as someone who has low self-esteem, low self-worth, that kind of thing. Now, I will point out that even when it comes to us thinking about ego in that context, we think that it's easy to think that the person with the bigger ego is doing worse in the world than the person with a lack of ego. And in reality, it's the other way around. Because the person with the big ego at least has the confidence to go out there and put themselves out there and create something in the world. The person with no ego, or a lack of ego, or a small ego is too scared to even take that step. And so they're not putting out any service to the world. And this is why we have to really reflect and look inwardly, and where are we at with our ego currently? Are we more towards the big end? Are we more towards the small end? And what can we do to balance that out? Now, when it comes to this spiritual principle, what I would like us to do is think of the ego a little bit differently. I want us to think about the ego as a ladder. And there's this ladder to your success. And the ego is anytime you feel uncertain, you feel lack, you feel pain, you feel, the negative emotions, basically. When you're feeling those negative emotions, it's arising because your ego is telling you something's wrong with that, something's gone wrong, and it's against you. Each rung of the ladder is a step closer to your success. Success is at the top. And every rung on that ladder, so it might be, so before I use the example of having relationship issues, say you're someone who's always felt really insecure in relationships, and you feel like the best thing for you would to have a partner who makes you feel really, really cared for. You think that that would be the best result. In reality, the emotion that you're feeling within yourself, the insignificance that you're feeling, or the fact that you're not feeling loved, is a gift from your ego, so that you know what the work is that you have to do by yourself, independently of your partner, to feel like you are secure, whether you're with your partner or not. And when you get to that place, that is when you will find that your partner does do all of those things for you that you were wishing that he did before, or she did before. And so it takes us to actually find it within ourselves to then see the miracle happen in our reality. So this is, you can kind of see how all three of the principles are intertwined. But practically, the way that you can connect with your ego so that it can be your best friend is anytime those obstacles are arising and you're faced with some kind of challenge, ask yourself, why would my success need this? Because remember, success is at the top of the ladder. And so why would my success need this rung in the ladder? Another question you could ask is, why would my happiness need this? Or why is this in my movie? And when I say movie, it's like the movie reel of your life. Why is this playing out? Why are these actors here? Why is this situation playing out? Why am I seeing this within my reality? Why is this in my movie? And so some of you would know that over the last couple of weeks, I've spent time solo over in Bali, and I have been creating a course. Now, this course is bringing together the principles that I've spoken into tonight, and also other principles that I feel like will really help women to unlock their purpose through changing their perspective and shifting the narrative and the stories and the beliefs that they're currently playing into, and choosing something that's more empowering. And so over my week in Bali, a lot of that was in a space of introspection and working out what would be the most powerful, what would be the most helpful. And so I grabbed everything that came out of, the meditations, the breathwork sessions, the healings that I did over there, and put it together with my knowledge into a course which is called Purpose Unlocked. And so this course is for self-discovery, for self-love, for spiritual development, and it uses principles of both human design and Kabbalah to help women to find confidence within themselves, awareness of their self, how to live their passion every day, how to make money from their passion, because I believe that if you're making money from the thing that you're passionate about, then it allows you the fulfillment and the fun to do the thing that you love every single day. How to overcome your limiting beliefs as they arise, which will give you a sense of freedom, a sense of choice, and connect you with what you really desire and the realm of miracles. Now, what you truly desire is also any desire you have is given to you for a reason, because you're meant to fulfill it. You wouldn't have a dream in your heart if you didn't have what it takes to make it happen. That dream is meant for you, and I don't want any woman holding themselves back from actually living that out, living out their passion, living out their purpose, because there's fears and limiting beliefs or obstacles getting in the way. And so that is the point of this. And so if you've tried coaches and courses and done different things, but you're still seeking, like, what is the answer so that I actually can feel free, that I actually can feel fulfilled, so that I do experience abundance in my life, and you want the guidance on a deeper level, on a soul level, then that is the point of this course. So this is something that I'm developing right now, and the access for this is going to open on the 1st of September, but only to beta testers. And so this is something that I want to extend to everyone tonight, because I know that you're interested in this kind of thing. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So I'm needing at least a few people to test the course. And when I say test, I mean run through it, and I'll probably also be adding to it a little bit over September as well. And I'm planning for the full launch date to be the 1st of October. So you'd have a month to kind of go through the content, and I'd love to gather some feedback, gather some testimonials, and see what your experience was with it, where you were at the start, where you felt you were at the end, and we can improve it and make it better together. So that is my intention. When this course releases officially, it will be at the $1,000 mark. But for the people who are helping me with beta testing, I am reducing that price to $300, or you can do a payment plan if that makes it easier for you, which would be 3 payments of $120 a week. So the beta round price for this, I'm leaving available for 72 hours. I feel like I will get the people who are meant to be in there within that 72 hours. So I am certain that whatever's meant to happen is going to happen. So I'm throwing that out there. So I'd love, if there's anybody who would like to be a part of that, then just email me or message me and we can sort that out. I would love to have you as beta tester. And finally, I wanted to share the only choice that we need to make each day in our life to truly thrive. So the only choice is whether we want to be proactive or reactive. When we choose that over and over each day, because there's going to be different scenarios that play out all throughout the day, this will determine our experience and how connected we are to the realm of miracles. Disconnecting from the realm of miracles and being reactive is what's going to create the chaos and the ups and downs in life and things not going right. When we're proactive, when we're using pause, what a pleasure, when we are certain that whatever is occurring is for our highest good, and that it's just another rung in the ladder of the ego towards our greater success. That is when we're going to be connected to that realm of miracles. Being proactive is what connects us with those miracles. And so that is what I want to leave you with tonight. So thank you so much for showing up for yourself tonight. I would love to hear in the chat or after the call what your biggest takeaway was from the call tonight, and whether it matched what your intention was that you set out at the start of the call as well. So sending you all so much love. There we go, there's the button. Sending you all so much love, and I'll talk to you soon.